Okay, I had to wait a while. I got paired down here against a Italian player, TonyRo, and I am going to play my beloved French. Kind of wish I had deviated though, but okay, he plays the knight g to e2 variation. Usually they go a3 and b4. I put my bishop on b6. And I'm usually quite happy to see this variation. Black has, although we have a slight space disadvantage, we have a very solid position. Black will break with f6, put the knight on f5, and then break with f6. For now, this bishop is okay. It's a little bit blocked in, but f6 is going to be a good break for us. I'm thinking if I should go f6, knight takes f5, pawn takes. You could go f4. Yeah, but there's maybe queen h4 check. An interesting option. We'll see what he does. Didn't really want to move the knight there. Definitely not take on g3 because h takes g3 opens the h file for his rook. What did he play? b5. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I'll go here. Got some squares that I can jump to here. h1. I'm jumping to the h1 square. f4 makes sense here. I'm not worried about, I mean, if he takes on f6, queen takes, this hole on e5. I'm not worried about it because his knight is pretty far away. And probably the best he can do with his knight is take on b6 at some point. I guess I'll take here. And I'm sort of intrigued with f4, just not to allow him to play f4. And then go bishop e6. Every time he takes, I just take. The f pawn seems to limit his options a bit for the bishop on b2, on c1. Okay, he takes. I take with the a pawn. Very often in this line, the rook becomes active because of AP. Pawn on b5 is starting to become a juicy target. If he takes on e6, then okay, pawn on e5 is also weak. One knight can jump into c4. And meanwhile, the bishop on c1 still doesn't have a lot of prospects, especially if I can jump with a knight to c4. So all in all, I think black is close to strategically winning here, and also I have quite a big time match. I can play knight b3 if I want, and I see no reason not to. The main reason is that the queen can't protect the rook, so this is quite a deadly fork. You'll be able to pick the knight up probably. Plays like queen b4, knight takes a1, queen b2, and then pick this guy up. But in the meantime, I will pick up a pawn. So he did the sensible thing here and re-signed. So TonyRo feels somewhat familiar. It's the author of the Killer Sicilian, fighting e4 with the Kalashnikov. Thought I recognized the name. Quick look at this game. So I played the French, and he went with this knight g to e2 line. Well, actually knight e2, because this knight can't go to e2, so knight g to e2 is actually the wrong notation. since only one knight can come to e2 legally. And I always play here knight c6. There are other lines with d takes e4, but I've always felt comfortable in these lines. Usually they play this, and what it did is probably quite sensible with the early c3. So yeah, if this knight g3 move on the line is better for white, then I will need to repair this line somehow. But yeah, I felt like I was okay after f6. It's a small plus for white, nothing too dramatic. Okay, the depth is only 13 ply. So it takes on f5. I thought f4 was slightly more logical. But perhaps, yeah, perhaps it's tricky because d takes e5, then you do weaken this diagonal. And this could be a problem piece. Also, check could be annoying here, especially since g3 is met with queen e4 winning. But I went b5, which I don't think is necessary. Why give this knight some squares to play with? There's no need to do anything here. The pawns are doing a good job blocking the bishop. White should go on about with finishing his development, but he didn't. And let's see, I liked f4 here. He castled, bishop e6, a piece out, more or less finished my development. Now he takes my bishop, and yeah, maybe a4 is the most logical move to get this bishop to a3, which seems like the only reasonable job for it at the moment. After this, I think it's very difficult for white. Yeah, as the computer is indicating here, even though the depth is not so deep. We can put the knight on c4 with weak pawn, potential weak pawn. Meanwhile, we can play, if white gangs up on d5, we can just play c6 and everything is protected. And meanwhile, this bishop on c1 really lacks a job here. And queen d4 was just a blunder, and knight b3. That's the game. Yeah. Okay, maybe not the best fight, but okay. In many ways an interesting line, and I'm not sure I would recommend it for white, but it's fine, as are many things, of course. Yeah. I'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.